You're listening to the 3 Feet Radio Show with Ben Carbonaro and Luke Herbert. From our studios come special guests and netball commentary, exclusively on YouTube.
Welcome, listeners, again to the 3 Feet Radio Show. Joining me again in the studio is my co-host Luke. G'day, Luke.
G'day, Ben. How you doing?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Very excited with the ANZ Championship Final Series coming up very soon too.
Oh, absolutely. And that brings us to today's guest, Bianca Chatfield. How are you doing today, Bianca?
I'm great, thanks, boys. How are you both?
I'm doing very well. And just to get us started, there was an absolute thriller of a game down in Invercargill on Saturday. What do you put the Vixens' loss down to against the Steel, Bianca?
Yeah, it was a very intense game. I honestly think that, we actually lost that game. We were making far too many mistakes in the second and third quarters, and then, came good in the last quarter, but left our run far too late. Against a team like Steel, who has Janelle Fowler-Reid down one end, who can absolutely bomb goals from anywhere, and they can get her the ball from anywhere. It's really hard to stop. So we just need to cherish possession. And unfortunately, we didn't win it, but we've been very lucky to scrape our way into first position anyway.
So obviously, aside from the inability to restrict Janelle Fowler-Reid, Bianca, what's Simone identified as areas for improvement ahead of the major semi-final against the Firebirds coming up this weekend?
We just need to go back to basics, and I know that's a real cliche to say, but it's about cherishing the possession that we get. So any turnovers that we get, it'll be no different against Romelda this weekend, and that it's hard to get ball back off them, but when you do, you just need to make the most of it. And, when we have the centre pass, we need to make the most of that. So, we don't need to overcomplicate things. It'll be a great game. It'll be a tough game, but we know we have the team to win it.
And just speaking of that semi-final, before we move on to other topics, and I'm switching gears quite a bit here to the AFL, how do you feel as a Collingwood supporter about the Vixens' major semi-final being on the same day as the traditional Melbourne versus Collingwood Queen's Birthday game?
It doesn't really bother me at all, to be honest. I would probably not have gone to that footy game anyway. I'm hoping, though, that lots of crowd will head over to the footy and then come to the netball afterwards. It'll be a great day in Melbourne for sport, that's for sure.
And just in a bit of research for our chat, Bianca, this is a bit of a light-hearted one. We see that white chocolate is one of your favourites. Would you say it's your guilty pleasure?
I would say it probably is, definitely, when the season allows us to be able to indulge a little bit.
Well, I'm a fan of white chocolate as well, so I must admit I was quite pleased to read that when we were doing some research for the program. But moving on to a little more serious topics than that, and just again, moving topics around a little bit. You played for the Melbourne Phoenix back in the old Commonwealth Bank Trophy days, and the Melbourne Phoenix built a dynasty with 5 Commonwealth Bank Trophy premierships, which Ben can recall quite well. What was it like to be a part of a netball club that had such a big winning culture and was the pinnacle of Victoria's netball pathway?
Yeah, it was a pretty amazing team to be a part of, and I feel very blessed that I had the opportunity to play with all the girls from the Melbourne Phoenix. But something that I hold very close to my heart, that team and those girls. And we had an amazing culture, and that's what it came down to, in that, we demanded excellence from everybody. And it was, as soon as I came in there as a 16-year-old, I kind of knew what was expected of me, and all the older girls supported me, but also pushed me to be better. And, we've tried very hard to replicate that culture in the Vixens. And I think partly we've done that well, and in other parts, the landscape of netball's changed so much that it's hard to keep the culture that we had at Phoenix. And one of those very things was about loyalty, and that once we had someone in the club, you just would never leave. And nowadays in the ANZ Championship, you never really see that, because players leave clubs all the time for many different reasons, and it's just become an accepted part of our game now. So, I absolutely loved my time at the Phoenix, and cherish all those premierships that I was a part of. And now you realise how hard it is to actually win them, when we got used to winning them every couple of years back in the day.
And I believe Lisa Alexander was your coach for one of those premierships of the Phoenix. It must be good to be reunited with her for the Glasgow Commonwealth Games and the Australian team, Bianca.
Oh, absolutely. She was our coach. We actually won 2 under her in 2002 and 2003, so we went back-to-back under Lisa. And, since 2003, I hadn't had much to do with her until I got back in the Diamond squad and she took over as coach. So, rapt to be working with her. I think she's a real, she's a really great coach in that she has so much faith and belief in her players and spends a lot of time making sure that, we have a strong relationship with everybody in the team. And I think that's going to put us in good stead going into the Com Games. And, that's not going to be easy over there, but I think we have a great team and it's just a matter of us making sure that we make it count in the finals once we get to the games.
And speaking of the games, can you tell us about your role as vice-captain of the Australian team?
Yeah, so myself, Laura Geitz is captain and Kim Green is in the leadership group. The three of us have been working together now for probably over 12 months and, it involves not just what you see on the court where we're, obviously providing a big support network for the players and being the ones that enforce all our kind of rules and regulations. But off the court, we spend a lot of time having conference calls with either Lisa or whether it's Kate Palmer, the CEO of Netball Australia. And we've been doing that since the end of last year. So even though ANZ Championship season's still going on, Diamonds is still something that's part of our world. And we're making sure that we keep all the players quite connected, even though we're rivals at the minute playing an ANZ Championship. At the end of the day, I think the Diamonds comes first and it's our job to make sure that we have that link with all the players throughout the ANZ Championship so that once we get into Australian mode at the end of this, everyone's ready to go and there's no adjustment period needed.
And just looking ahead to this week with a major semi-final, Bianca, you've got the Firebirds. You gave them a hiding back in round 6. Are you taking anything from that to use as motivation for this week at all?
I think we take a little bit of confidence. But round 6 was a long time ago, and I feel both teams have probably changed and developed a lot more since then. And I don't know, compared to some of our other wins where we've won, in the 20s or in the 30s, a 12-goal win didn't seem that big a deal because, it can happen easy both ways. So, I'm sure they've got a lot that they want to make amends for, but we also have a lot and we've improved a lot and we've changed our game, I think, a fair bit since we came up against the Firebirds last. So it'll be a cracking game. I imagine it will come down to the last quarter and yet again, I'm such a believer that it comes down to the hard work that you put in and if as a team we put in the hard work from the start, hopefully the outcome will take care of itself.
Well, we're talking about the Firebirds. Romelda Aiken is always a focal point in that team and I was listening to radio coverage of last night's Magic Firebirds game and that became very apparent. But who else in that team needs to be restricted or stopped come Monday?
Yeah, Romelda's always going to be their focal point, clearly just with her height advantage she has. I think Amy Wild and Verity Simmons on goal attack and wing attack, they are the ones that are providing her with the ball. So you need to put a lot of pressure on those two and give them the respect they deserve and work hard at keeping them away from Romelda and the ability for them to throw that ball into her. Gabby Simpson and Kim Revillion in the centre court, they're both such dynamic, young, little guns of centre court players who I've seen a little bit at Aussie and, I think they're just really consistent players. Gabby turns over a lot of ball. Kim, yet again, provides that link for them to Romelda. And then you've got guys in Claire McMiniman in the back end who are just absolute workhorses who provide so many turnovers for their team. So we just need to be strong and we need each one of us as players to go out there and win our positions and then we worry about everything else. So I think that's what we're going to go and do. Hopefully it all does go to our plan.
As been the case in some of the other Firebirds games this year, Bianca, they've also in defence got the option of maybe Demelza or also Jacinta coming in to change things up as well.
Yeah, they do have versatility for sure in their defence end. Probably a bit similar to what we do with our attack end when we bring on Catherine Cox and give her a run at either goal attack or goal shooter. It does change up what's happening down there. It does make the opposition think a little bit differently about how to play against us. Each team has their I guess, little secret players on the bench that are ready to come on. And, you've got to make sure you prepare for everyone that they've got.
And just switching gears here away from the netball court, could you tell us a bit about your time as a teacher? And can you see yourself going back to the profession once your netball career is over?
That's an interesting one. I went to uni when I first finished school and got a teaching degree, taught for a couple of years. So I was at a few private schools around Melbourne. Only could ever really teach part-time, though, because of netball schedule and always being away. And I did enjoy it. I was a PE, health and biology teacher, so I really did enjoy parts of it, but I found it really, really hard to fit in both. So I haven't done it for many years now, but I'm not sure what's ahead for me when I finish playing. Potentially, I like working out in schools. Sherelle and myself have our own business where we go and run leadership workshops in schools, so that's still where I get to touch base with the kids. And I enjoy doing that in the future. So I'm not quite sure whether I would ever go back as a PE teacher, but I definitely will be working with young people, I think, in some way.
You obviously got those teaching skills that you use with Sherelle, like you said, with pivot performance. But at the same time, too, do you feel those skills are useful when you're working with kids doing clinics? I noticed the kids seem to flock to you when you run clinics, B.
Yeah, definitely. They are very helpful. And, I've grown up doing clinics because it's been a source of income for us as netballers over the years. So, since I was 16 playing with Phoenix, you were always out doing coaching clinics as well. So that was kind of helped me with my teaching degree, and now I think my teaching degree helps me with all the clinics that we are still doing. I do enjoy it. It's good. Catherine Cox, myself and Maddie Robinson are heading up to Rochester on Thursday to run a clinic for the netball club up there. So even though we're in finals, we're still getting out there with the kids as well.
Yeah, and while we're talking about communication, you're very active on social media. Could you please tell us your Twitter handle and your website address and anything else along those lines you would like to mention to the listener so they can go and check them out?
Yeah, my Twitter is just at Bianca Chatfield, pretty simple, and that's also my Instagram tag, and my website is biancachatfield.com. That's just something that my management and I put together, and it's just a variety, I guess, of stuff that I do outside of being on the court playing netball. So, yeah, I love a bit of social media. It's generally very handy to check up on everything that's happening in the world very quickly.
And obviously, Bianca, unfortunately, because of the way it is in our country, I've spoken to you about this many times. I've been floating around involved, covering the game for many years, and it's always been one of the banes of you guys has been a lack of media coverage. But since the evolution of social media has sort of allowed you to engage with the fans a lot more. But at the same time, too, it provides a lot more greater coverage that TV may not provide in this country, whereas in New Zealand it does.
Absolutely. I'm a bit of an nut on social media. I just enjoy it, and I think it gives athletes their own voices, so they're not relying on the clubs or whoever, but it also brings across some caution too, that you have to be very careful how you use it. I think we've seen footballers, etc., get themselves in trouble with social media, so we're trying to educate all the girls to be smart when they use it, but it's exciting to see where netball's going to go, because the coverage now compared to when I first started playing is 100% better. So who knows, in 5-10 years' time, it could be what AFL football is in Melbourne today.
All right, Bianca, thanks very much for that, and good luck for Monday. And, of course, as you know, I'll be there in my usual little spot behind the press bench usually.
Not a problem at all. I will see you there.
All right, thank you very much for your time, Bianca.
That's okay, no problem.
You've been listening to the 3 Feet Radio Show with Ben Carbonaro and Luke Herbert. Tune in next time for more special guests and netball commentary exclusively on YouTube.